And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Interim Manager at WEIU TV and Radio. My co-host is Mr. Tristan Thomas.
Hello.
How are you today?
Doing well. Staying busy, you know.
Guests making a repeat appearance again are our friends at the Booth Library, Beth Heldebrandt and Dr. Zach Newell.
Hey, thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for having us.
There you go. Well, some exciting news, and I don't know where we're going to start, but I guess we'll start with you. You guys were awarded a couple of grants, but the one that I think you're most excited about, at least via the email you sent me, is this digital literacy program that you want to talk about. It's got a lot of different fingers into the community, so why don't you two talk about it, and Tristan and I will just kind of pick your brains after that. How about that?
Okay. We'll start.
You can start.
Ladies first.
Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, their Illinois Broadband Ready program, had an opportunity to apply for grants in various areas related to broadband. We chose the area of digital literacy. So we were awarded that grant. We hired a digital literacy coordinator, which is a graduate student here at EIU. His name is Nate Carlson. But the idea behind the grant is to reach out into the community, share resources with them related to digital literacy. So we have 4 public libraries, Lakeland Community College, Adult Education Program, Academy of Lifelong Learning. We're working through the Mattoon School District and College of Education here at EIU to present various topics that Nate has devised, videos and workshops to teach representatives from these libraries and agencies how to teach digital literacy to their constituents. So when this grant program ends in December, we didn't want the digital literacy program to end, so we're doing a train the trainer type of program. So we're, or Nate, I should say, is training them, and then they're presenting workshops in their various communities and towns on these various topics.
Have those workshops and everything started under Nate, or how's that working?
Yeah, over the summer, he conducted 4 different trainings here at Booth in our Center for Student Innovation. And about 2 weeks ago, he conducted training with elementary, middle school, and high school students at Mattoon. Effingham has already conducted some workshops in the public library. Charleston just released a series of workshops that they plan to offer in October. And we're still waiting to hear about the workshops planned for Mattoon, Sullivan, and Lakeland.
Okay.
So digital literacy, just want to start with, why is it important for, various age
And maybe even what it is to some folks
Exactly,
who may not
yeah.
understand those 2 words back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of an information literacy writ large, but more around technology, understanding how to utilize technology, stuff like social media, for instance. So Nate does something what's called like a modular or scalable curriculum, which means that when our partners come in and they take the workshop with Nate, they know that they can whittle it down or use any part of it. So for instance, he did one where he was talking about children at different age groups, what their comfort level is, what parents should know about children using social media, and then they can go back and do these modules or curricula in their, say, in the public library, or if you want to target a larger age group, as to things that they should be aware of. What are some of the issues that those under the age of 12 are dealing with in terms of pressures and understanding how to use technology? What do they need to know about locking down mobile devices and whatnot, or parental controls, which might still be a little bit different than if you're a teenager. What are those peer pressures? What are the things that you're dealing with? So, those types of issues, really. Yeah.
And when you say he was earlier, he was training the trainer, I think, Beth, so he said. So this will be something that can carry on. Now, how will the library be involved after it carries on? Are you still like a source for them, or how does that work?
Booth Library will continue to be a source for them, and Nate is creating a lot of resources that will carry on. A LibGuide, videos he's making for all the curriculum. Materials that we have here at our library, or our public library partners also have. So hopefully they will take all this information and continue to offer these workshops in their communities beyond. Our grant funding runs out in December, so Nate won't be here anymore to help them out, but the rest of us will still be here to provide support. But the reason we went with the Train the Trainer program is in hopes that they'll be able to continue this on without us for the most part once the grant is over.
And we did it that way because we wanted the trainers from our partner institutions to decide because they know best about what their customers or their patrons really need, and they know at what level they're at. So that way they can take any part of Nate's curriculum and then bring it back and say, well, the Carnegie Public Library, for instance, might be here, and this is what we need to target, whereas, say, Lakeland or the Mattoon School District might say, well, we're here or somewhere else. And that's the nice part about the Train the Trainer program. We don't have to assume what they need. They can make that decision on their own and then implement that training themselves.
Okay. How do you pick the partners, or do they come to you, or did you send out like an open letter to everybody in the area? How's that work?
The state of Illinois had the state divided by region, so we knew which counties were in our region when we received the grant.
Yeah.
And so we sent out emails to various public libraries, community colleges throughout the district, as well as several partners here at EIU and the regional superintendent of schools.
Okay.
And we just told them what the opportunity was and see, who was interested in participating.
Okay.
Yeah, both of you have talked about like social media being one of the focuses of the programs. What are some of the other major focuses or some of the issues you see in digital literacy?
Privacy and security is a big one. How to make sure that you're maintaining your privacy, you're not falling victim to scams and those sorts of things. News literacy is covered in there to make sure you understand what fake news is and how to avoid it. And we learned from our partners. Originally, we had big ideas and we're like, well, we'll show them how to look up things in the library catalog and things like that. But our public library partners and others are like, hold on, our patrons need basic computer skills first before we can get to that. So Nate created a curriculum on just basic computer skills, how to use Word documents, how to manipulate the mouse, how to use search engines and those sorts of things.
And even a PDF, and then how to print those out.
We found out from our partners, Lakeland College as well, that we have the GED program meets in the library regularly. These people are going out to look for jobs. All of the applications these days are online, and they're struggling with that because if you don't have a lot of computer skills, it's hard to go online and fill out an online job application. So
Just give it a good time, it seems like.
Right.
Job issues are everywhere right now where people can't
Everyone's
find people
looking for people to hire.
Yeah.
So
That is absolutely truth. This also falls into a neat timeline of some of the things that we've talked about over the past couple of years with the Booth Library, is that you've really tried to enhance the technology side with some of the things going on there. How does this work with what you've been doing already?
I think it's really an extension, because when we worked on that GEAR grant, this Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, to purchase technology available for checkout to our students, but it's really the campus community, and then this is really an extension of reaching out to the larger community, which is something we targeted when we got some money, $50,000 from the Charleston Area Charitable Foundation to remodel our Center for Student Innovation. We did so, and we're given the money with the provision that we were going to make links with the larger community. How could the community benefit by using an active learning classroom? How could they benefit by utilizing some of the technology that we had? So we looked at it as a logical connection where we wanted to make that outreach into the larger community, offer something to our region, so that EIU and Booth Library in particular is seen as a collaborator and a partner, and we see it as part of economic development as well too. So, and we're really excited about partnering.
Now, we should say that Nate was scheduled to be here today, but he unfortunately couldn't make it in. So, and Nate's an actual former WEIU employee, so I was hoping that we could see him today, but maybe next time, Nate. And so when Nate's job goes away, then who takes over some of that responsibility if one of these program collaborators calls? How's that work?
before we hired Nate, it was Stacy Knight Davis, one of our librarians, and myself who sort of organized. We applied for the grant, and so we kind of lined up the partners and things like that. So we will still be here in case they have questions.
I'm also going to ask this kind of an oddball question before Tristan asks his next one. Is Mattoon's doing something with their high school, the education, that LIFT thing? Mm-hmm. Is there a chance that this program or something like this could also help and enhance and work with those folks as well?
Well, we think so. Nate, as I said earlier, a couple of weeks ago, he spent a day and a half in the Mattoon schools meeting with the elementary and middle schools and high schools. Each chose student leaders. I'm not sure how they chose who the student leaders were, but that was up to them. And he broke down the curriculum to their level, and the students are then going to turn around and present that curriculum to their fellow students. But I know originally the high school students in particular, they were hoping through this vocational program that they have going there in the schools, they would be able to to teach it to more than just their students, maybe even through the Mattoon Public Library or something like that.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, within the digital literacy program, what are the age ranges of that? Is that something where it's kind of an older demographic, or is it wider?
We originally envisioned it for middle school and up. As I said, Mattoon asked us to come up with something for the elementary school level too, so we pretty much have curriculum, basic curriculum created for maybe 3rd grade through retirees.
Because everybody has a phone now, even if they're probably in
Right.
4th or 5th grade.
But it's kind of appropriate because I think the governor in Illinois, if I'm not mistaken, was it in the spring, right, wrote into law a mandate that through K through 12 curriculum, they need to, in the school districts in Illinois, need to study digital literacy. So
Okay.
it was kind of fortuitous that we ended up
Right.
getting this grant, and then the governor signed off on this legislation. So.
That is real neat. So is there anything else about the grant that you want folks to know about today before we move on to the other grant? I don't want to skip anything.
Nope, those are the highlights.
Okay. Then this other one is a health literacy grant, and this is a grant that I think when you write it, it automatically becomes outdated because health is such. Right now, the world we live in with COVID and everything you read about is changing drastically day to day. How did you do this? And talk about this one.
Because of the success of our digital literacy program, when the National Library of Medicine advertised that they had a grant similar to that, only focused on health literacy topics,
Yeah.
we thought, why not? We'll apply. And so we did. They're actually calling it an award, not a grant. I'm not sure
Okay.
what the difference is. But
Hopefully less paperwork on the backside.
that would be good for my end of things. But the EIU Department of Public Health and the Health Communication Program here in Buzzard are partners in this grant. So similar to what we did with hiring Nate, they will be hiring a couple of students who are interested in health literacy or health communication to teach similar sorts of classes, create curriculum, but the topics will be health related instead of the broader sense of the digital literacy.
And I think a lot of it is like where people can find information, where people can find the right, medical, I don't know if it's provider, but even a way to get to where you know where you have to get to find that. Is that kind of how I read it?
Right, and because of the current times with the pandemic and everything, I think fake news in terms of health is a big issue right now. So figuring out who are the good sources to go to for information, not just believe in anything that you read on your social media
And
feed.
how to identify the experts as
Right,
well, too, right?
those,
yeah.
all those sorts of topics. But as you said, it'll be sort of changing over time on what these topics will include, depending on what's going on in the world.
There you go.
Yeah, and what are the kind of the specific details, the specific services that will be available with this grant?
It's still new because we just found out we got it about 2 weeks ago, and it starts October 1st. So we haven't done much yet, but they are advertising right now to hire a couple of students to lead this.
And who will be in charge of that? Is that going to be library, or will that be more of the health communication area in Buzzard, or how will that work?
It'll be more the Department of Public Health and Health Communication because it'll be their students and health is their forte. But Booth Library, of course, will be a partner for them and provide help however we can.
And we were hoping we were going to break news with another grant, but it's not. We haven't heard from the state of Illinois yet today, so we won't be able to talk on that one. But hopefully we'll
Stay
get
tuned.
get that information, maybe even this week, right? Well, here we go.
We hope.
So other things happening at Booth as we head into. I can't believe it's already the 4th quarter of fiscal or calendar year 2021. What else is going on over there?
Well, recently we've made a change where on the 3rd floor you'd be able to get research help, and we've shifted the research help up to the 4th floor so that we could make some student academic support services available on the 3rd floor. And by this I mean that the athletics tutoring services has moved now into the 3rd floor of the library, which means they're running study halls. All of their tutoring service programs for athletics has moved out of the Lance tutoring or study hall area, I guess we could say, and they've set up there from 9 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. every night in the library, which is just a wonderful alliance when you think about it, because you want athletes to be able to come into the library, have access to all the resources in the library, and for it to be sort of an organic experience for athletes and all of the students to really have that relationship with the library.
Have the response been good so far with that? Or?
Yeah, it's been excellent.
Every time I walk down that area, I'm shocked by how many students are hanging out, and then I think, oh yeah, it's the athletes.
Well, the football team had a study hall
Right.
there last year, I guess. That was their first trial with it, and it was just in the evenings. I think it was 4 or 5 in the evening until about 8 at night.
Well, this semester it's 6 to 9.
6 to
I
9.
don't remember what
Yeah.
it was last semester.
And so now you've got athletes there all day long. So all of the athletes.
So
all
all
of
the
their
jokes that athletes don't study, we can throw that out the book now.
That's right. You can see them. Just walk into the library. You can see them any day.
And I know EIU and a lot of the coaches have done a fantastic job prioritizing that link between their studying and their habits and their education and getting the GPAs up. So it's really been a great partnership. Really.
Yeah, there's a reward on the backside for athletics to have a high GPA and have high graduation rate from the NCAA and other associations. So that's neat. Other stuff that's going on. We'll just continue to keep talking here with library folks.
Sure. Just generally speaking, the library is hopping these days. We've been commenting on it since the beginning of the semester. It was so quiet last year with so many classes online. We're really excited to see so many students today and tomorrow. Our librarians have 13 sections of a communications class in there, so there's just students everywhere, in addition to a couple of other classes coming in. Our study rooms on the 4th floor have always been popular. They are reservation only now in order to keep the sort of crowd control, keep down the number of people who are squeezing into those rooms. But that hasn't seemed to deter people. I was counting the other day, and in a 2-week period, we had 256 reservations for our study rooms.
Holy cow.
We keep looking at the calendar, and it's just...
So, Tristan, you are studying this semester.
Yeah, I haven't
Somebody
been there
is,
yet.
yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
So, they're free and open to students. When you show up, the door is locked, and that confused people who are used to using them in the past, but all you have to do is go over to the desk, make an official reservation. That way we can kind of keep an eye on how many students are going into the room. We're trying to keep it at half capacity.
I get it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Other COVID rules going on, I mean, in terms of at the library?
Masking. If you're eating or drinking, you can take your mask off, but we ask that you put it right back on. A lot of the other pandemic protocols we had on originally, like you can't go into the book stacks and things like that, those have been lifted as over time we've gotten more information from the CDC. So it's pretty much back to normal, other than the social distancing in some of our group areas, the study rooms and the classrooms. We still have, plexiglass and things like that at our public service desks to protect our workers. That's about it, though,
But it's
right?
clear that this is what the students want. They want to be back face-to-face. They want that experience in the library, and they want a sense or a feeling of normalcy. And I think the library seems to offer that for the students anyway.
There you go.
And so, please.
Yeah, and I can definitely attest to that as a student. Things being back in person, even with some of the COVID rules, huge improvement from last year. Also, you guys had a book sale fairly recently.
And that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Right,
So how did that go? What were some of the details with that?
We didn't have a book sale for a year and a half, but a lot of people during the pandemic cleaned out their houses and kept donating books to us. So we had quite this collection of books that we took out, but it went really well. We brought in the most amount of money we ever have at a fall book sale. Of course, we had a larger inventory. We had a lot of staff members and volunteers out there. We had a really good weather day, which means everything when you're having an outdoor activity. So it went really well. We'll do another one in the spring, assuming that, safety-wise, we can pull it off.
Yeah.
We're going to be all right. Do you have a student open house coming up, October 6th? We're coming fast because it's already the end of September.
Right. One of the other things that we should talk about is our Center for Student Innovation, because just like everything else in the library, now that we're all mostly back in person, that's really become very popular. We hosted a business after hours through the Charleston Chamber of Commerce in there a couple of weeks ago, and now we want to host a student open house, which is scheduled for October 6th, beginning at 4 to 6, I think is what we're going to do. But it just gives an opportunity for students to come in, see what the space is, see what kind of technology they can check out. We're hoping to demonstrate some of our equipment, like our VR equipment, or maybe our videography studio, or a podcasting studio, or any of that kind of stuff. We're working out the details. But it's just a chance for them to come in, see the space, see what's available to them, let them know that, hey, you can come here. You don't have to come with the class. You can come here on your own. Just make a reservation. You can come in and use the stuff.
A lot of the technology we have there is for the students, and I don't know if we had mentioned it, but last year we did a pitch competition. So it's kind of a disguised assessment instrument where we want the students, it was called What's Your Problem? And so student groups identified a problem, and then they identified the technology, hardware, and software they would need to solve a problem. And then we awarded some money to the winning groups, and so we purchased some technology and the like, and we're purchasing a little bit of furniture as part of that money for the space, the CSI space. But it gives the students a sense of ownership that we're building this space out for them, and so it's important to run these type of events, a student open house, so we can hear back from them, make sure they know that the space is there, that it's really for them, and then continue to build it out specifically for students.
Was there responses that you actually did for students, or is that still ongoing?
It's ongoing, but the pitch competition was something that was really a hit, and so we get from students, are you going to run this pitch competition again? We want to have a voice in this space. We have ideas for technology, or somebody wants to create an app as part of a class. Like there's the food pantry opening on campus, and somebody's working with Dr. Michael Gillespie on the food pantry and then wants to develop an app so that things are accessible in terms of the hours and what's available. And so the Center for Student Innovation is a place where we'd like to be able to run that app development for the students, and if they have an idea, they can come down into the space, and it's sort of entrepreneurial in spirit. And so we get a lot of that feedback from the students. Hey, I'd like to see this here, and that's great for us because oftentimes we don't know what the students want until we hear from them. So
let's turn you back into a student before you ask. When you hear something like that, what's that mean? What kind of goes through your mind, Tristan?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear that there are events, things to ways to learn, interesting things in fun ways. And so I think that's cool that you guys are like providing that. And it's not just, hey, we're the library, you know what we're about. It's like trying to add in different ways of learning, and also seeing that it's not just a place with books and computers. There's actually stuff going on.
And that's what we're trying to shift a little bit. We're trying to undo a little bit of those traditions and legacies of the library and open up more for it to be about the space, about the students, so that it's student-centered, so we're shifting the way we're teaching and learning. So, I mean, it's an active learning space there, too, and the faculty development is running these learning communities to work with faculty, and this is how we teach around active learning, which benefits the students, because you're not just, sitting in a chair all day. You get to actually work in teams and work with the technology and the 3D printer and the podcasting microphones and all of that. So, I mean, if I had that as a student, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah. Also, with kind of going off of that, are you waiting for the open house to hear from students before you start maybe putting some events on the calendar, or are there a couple things already in the works?
We already have the Gamers Guild RSO is meeting in that space on not every Sunday, a couple times a month on Sunday evenings. The EIU Entrepreneurial Club is meeting in there every Tuesday. We had another RSO.
That's a tough one to say. EIU
Entrepreneurial Club, yes. Yeah. Another RSO contacted us about doing a podcast and using the equipment. I'm blanking right now on what that RSO was. But anyway, the word's getting out. People know it's there. The technology checkout has been hot as soon as day one. As soon as it was open, there was 5 or 6 students lined up on the very first day at the very first hour ready to check out equipment, which made us feel good, but they were showing up early. I'm like, give us 20 minutes. We're still training our staff.
Well, we have 120 laptops, and I think in the first, 4 days before day 4 was over, we had 47 laptops checked out.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, students like using the technology, and it fills a need, too.
Yeah, there you go.
The MiFi hotspots are also very hot.
Yes, yeah.
Before COVID, one of the things the library had been doing for years was exhibits and displays and really bringing in people from all over the country to do stuff. Are we close to getting back to that, or where we stand on that? Because I know that was something, I know, Beth, that was one of your things you'd love to talk about so much.
Right. We had to put a kibosh on that during the pandemic, including our Comic-Con that we had to cancel. We're still hoping to resurrect that maybe. Yeah. Currently, we have an exhibit for Banned Books Week going on in the library, and an exhibit for Latino Heritage Month. Those are more short-term exhibits, which we're working with some of our campus partners. But the exhibits committee is starting to ramp back up, thinking about more long-term and bigger exhibits like we've done in the past.
Absolutely.
Any teases that you want to maybe throw out there, or can you?
Not quite yet.
All right. I had to try, right? We had to try.
Trying to break news here.
But that's good news that it's starting to ramp back up, because those are some neat things that you guys have put on in the past. So that was cool. So we have 4 minutes left or so. Any other thing on your mind, Tristan?
Yeah,
there?
One more kind of basic question, maybe for newer students. Let's say a student has something to, like a project to work on, and they know they need information on certain X topic. What kind of options are there that they can get help at the library with?
There are what they call research librarians specifically that work with departments, and they can come over and they can work with them one-on-one. They'll sit down, what they do consultations, talk to them specifically, and they also work with specific classes. So the students should feel comfortable reaching out or come to the 4th floor where the research help desk is located and just talk to a librarian there. And then they can work through it. But I'd say most of the options even are available online nowadays. So, yeah.
Other stuff that we want to touch on with the library before we get out here today that you want to talk about? It's your time.
A different gear-related competitive grant that we applied for that we talked about last time we were on the show is to open a satellite CSI location in Thomas Hall.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. I'm sorry.
So that one just opened last week.
Timely.
Yes, like I said, it's also offers tech checkout. Not exactly the same equipment as we have in the library, but similar. And there's a smaller version of the design studio in there. So there's a green screen, cameras, multi-presenter, things like that that students can use.
And that's
The
in
reason
Thomas,
why,
you said?
we did that in a dormitory in hopes to make it more convenient for the students, especially working directly with the Freshman Connection program.
Oh, I get them started early. That's good.
In the instructional studio that's there, just like in the CSI spaces, so if students need help with downloading software, just something on their computer, they can come and feel comfortable, and students, our graduate assistants, are running those spaces so they can feel comfortable coming over and getting help. Because we often hear from students that sometimes a class will require they download some software, and sometimes they don't know how to use it, how to edit a video or how to work with photographs or some kind of statistical package. So they'll just come over, and then that way their peers are helping them. Here's how you download it. So that's why we call it the instructional studio. So there's a lot of one-on-one work there too.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on at the Booth Library. We're talking to Beth and Zach today from WEIU's Booth Library. A couple minutes left. In terms of the public, we're talking on campus, but you're more than just on campus. People from the public are more than welcome to come in from Mattoon, Charleston area to see the booth and to become a member, or how does that work?
We see community members in our building every day. They can get a community patron card to check out materials. They just need to go to the circulation desk and show proof of residency and that sort of thing. But there's no charge for that or anything. So yes, we are a public library. We're funded in part by the state of Illinois, not just in part. So the public is welcome to come in. We see them in our computer labs. We see them checking out materials, especially in our children's library. We see a lot of families coming in to check out stuff from there too. So
that was our interest even in the digital literacy grant that we got, and even this grant that we were applying for was about workforce development, working with the College of Education. But we saw a lot of community members coming in during the pandemic last year who were filling out either unemployment notices or applications, or trying to search for a job and needed a lot of help with some of the basic skills about downloading PDFs, signing them, printing that stuff out. And so we're trying to really work with the community in many ways to kind of fill in those gaps, whether it's partnering with the public library in town or trying to fill in the gap right here. And there's also a connection because many of our students could use that kind of workforce development, digital literacy skills right up through graduation and prepare them for the workforce.
I think we get the marketing slogan is Booth Library, more than just books, right?
There you go.
A lot more than just books.
Yes.
Well, thank you too for coming in today, and appreciate you coming in, Zach. And,
sure, thanks for having me.
Next time, Nate, when you're here, hopefully you can come in. We missed Nate a little bit, so we'll be back next week with Issues and Attitudes. Thanks so much. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Kristen,
it.
good luck on Newswatch tonight.
I will. Tune in 5:30.
I'll tune in.
Thank you.
We are WEIU.